The cameras were rolling when Sarah Mitchell walked off the Family Feud stage during her own family's turn. Not in anger, not in protest, she just quietly set down her buzzer, took 3 steps toward the exit, and collapsed. Her legs gave out. She hit the floor hard. The audience gasped. Her husband, James, ran to her. Steve Harvey dropped his cards and sprinted across the stage. Paramedics who were always on standby came running, and while the crew helped Sarah into a chair and checked her vitals, Steve Harvey leaned down and heard her whisper 5 words that made him immediately turn to the producers and mouth very clearly, "Stop the cameras." Now, what Sarah had been hiding for 14 months would become the most watched Family Feud moment in the show's 49-year history, with 380 million views in 6 days. It was February 9th, 2025, a Sunday afternoon taping in Atlanta. The Family Feud stage was set for a Valentine's Day special episode. 2 families stood at their podiums, the Mitchell family from Texas. The audience was settled. Steve Harvey walked out in a red suit, matching the Valentine's theme, ready for a fun, lighthearted show. The first 2 rounds went perfectly. Lots of laughs. Good answers. The Mitchell family was winning 189 to 156. Sarah Mitchell stood at the podium, 39 years old, blonde hair in a ponytail, wearing a red sweater. Her husband, James, stood beside her. Their 3 kids sat in the front row: Emma, 12, Lucas, 9, and Sophie, 6. Everything looked normal. Happy family. Valentine's Day episode. Standard Sunday taping. And then round 3 started, and everything changed. Steve Harvey read the question from the card. Name something you might hide from your spouse. Sarah buzzed in first. She'd been quick all game. Steve smiled. All right, Sarah, what's something you might hide from your spouse? Sarah opened her mouth. No sound came out. She tried again. Nothing. Her face went white. Steve noticed. You okay, Sarah? Sarah nodded. But she wasn't okay. She said very quietly, I need, and then she just walked off the stage. Mid-question, mid-game, just set down her buzzer and walked toward the exit. James called after her. Sarah? 3 steps later, Sarah's legs buckled. She went down. The studio erupted in chaos. Paramedics rushed over. Steve Harvey was kneeling beside her within seconds. Sarah was conscious, but shaking. The paramedic asked, Ma'am, are you in pain? Sarah shook her head. When did you last eat? Sarah's eyes filled with tears. She whispered something. Steve Harvey leaned closer. What'd you say, baby? Sarah whispered again, and this time Steve heard it clearly. Thursday. I ate on Thursday. Today is Sunday. Steve's face changed. He looked at the paramedic. Then he looked up at the producers in the booth. He didn't yell. He just mouthed the words very deliberately. Stop the cameras. Now. But nobody in that studio knew what Sarah Mitchell had been carrying for 14 months. Nobody knew that she'd been starving herself so her children could eat. Nobody knew that she'd been working 3 jobs while battling stage 3 breast cancer that she'd kept secret from everyone, including her husband, because her insurance had been canceled and she couldn't afford treatment without losing her house. Nobody knew that Sarah Mitchell had driven to the Atlanta taping with the intention of winning $20,000 so she could finally tell the truth without destroying her family. The real story started 14 months earlier. December 2023. Sarah Mitchell was a 4th-grade teacher in Columbus, Ohio. She made $48,000 a year. Her husband, James, was a warehouse supervisor making $52,000. Combined income, $100,000. They had 3 kids, a modest 3-bedroom house with a mortgage of $1,800 a month, 2 car payments, student loans, and the usual American middle-class debt. They were managing. Not comfortable, but managing. Then, Sarah found the lump. It was during a shower. Small. Hard. Left breast. She scheduled a mammogram immediately. The mammogram led to an ultrasound. The ultrasound led to a biopsy. The biopsy came back positive. Invasive ductal carcinoma. Stage 3. Already spread to her lymph nodes. The oncologist said, we need to start treatment immediately. Chemotherapy, possibly surgery, possibly radiation. We'll know more after the first round. Sarah's insurance was through the school district. She'd had it for 11 years. good coverage. Or so she thought. She submitted the treatment authorization to her insurance company. They denied it. Reason: pre-existing condition clause violation. Sarah called them. What pre-existing condition? I've never had cancer before. The insurance rep said, our records show you visited a doctor for breast pain 18 months ago. Sarah remembered. She'd gone in for what turned out to be a pulled muscle from lifting boxes. That wasn't cancer. That was a muscle strain. The rep said, the policy states that any condition related to the affected area within 24 months prior to diagnosis constitutes a pre-existing condition. Your claim is denied. Sarah appealed twice. Both appeals were denied. Her oncologist wrote letters. Denied. Her primary care physician submitted documentation proving the muscle strain was unrelated. Denied. The insurance company wouldn't budge. Sarah's treatment was going to cost approximately $180,000. She had $4,300 in savings. She looked into payment plans at the hospital. They wanted $3,000 down and $2,500 a month. She couldn't afford it. She looked into charity care programs. She made too much money to qualify. She looked into medical loans. Her credit wasn't good enough. She was trapped. She decided not to tell James. Not yet. Because if she told James, he'd make her quit her job to focus on treatment they couldn't pay for. They'd lose her income and her insurance. They'd lose the house. The kids would have to change schools. Everything would collapse. So Sarah made a plan. A terrible, desperate plan. She'd keep working. She'd hide the cancer. She'd save every penny she could by cutting expenses wherever possible. And when she had enough money, she'd start treatment and tell James everything. Sarah started skipping lunch. She told her coworker she was doing intermittent fasting. Then she started skipping breakfast, just coffee. Then she started eating smaller dinners. She told James she was trying to lose weight, trying to get healthy, she said, the lie burning in her throat. She stopped buying herself clothes, stopped getting her hair cut, stopped doing anything that cost money. Every penny went into a secret savings account James didn't know about. But it wasn't enough. Even skipping meals, cutting every personal expense, she was only saving $400 a month. At that rate, she'd have $5,000 in a year, nowhere near the $180,000 she needed. So Sarah got a second job, tutoring on weekends, $25 an hour. She told James it was volunteer work for the school. That added $400 a month. Then she got a third job, online grading for a testing company. Late nights after the kids were asleep. $15 an hour, another $300 a month. She was working 70 hours a week and bringing in an extra $1,100 a month. The cancer was getting worse. Sarah could feel it. The lump was growing. She was exhausted all the time. She'd get dizzy spells at school. She'd have to sit down in the middle of teaching. She told her students she was just tired. She told James she was stressed about work. She told everyone she was fine. But she wasn't fine. She was dying, and she knew it. By June 2024, Sarah was eating one small meal a day, dinner with her family. Nothing else. She'd wake up dizzy. She'd teach her fourth graders while fighting the urge to vomit from hunger and pain. She'd tutor kids on Saturdays while her vision blurred. She'd grade papers at midnight while the cancer in her breast throbbed. She'd lost 31 pounds in 6 months. People noticed. James said, "Sarah, you're getting too thin. Are you eating enough?" She said, "I'm fine, just stressed." Her principal called her into his office. "Sarah, are you okay? You don't look well." She said, "I'm fine, just a busy year." One night in July, her daughter Sophie came into her bedroom at 2 a.m. Sarah was at her desk grading papers, trying not to cry from the pain in her chest. Sophie said, "Mommy, are you sick?" Sarah's breath stopped. "No, baby." "Why?" Sophie said, "Because you're so skinny now, and you're always tired, and I heard you crying last night." Sarah pulled Sophie into her lap. "Mommy's just working a lot, but I'm okay, I promise." Sophie said, "When we get our real home, will you stop working so much?" Sarah was confused. "What do you mean, real home? This is our real home." Sophie shook her head. "Daddy said we might have to move soon. For real home, or just visiting home?" Sarah's chest cracked open. James had been talking to their 6-year-old about possibly losing the house. Sarah went downstairs. James was still awake, watching TV. She said, "You told Sophie we might have to move?" James looked guilty. "I didn't want to worry you, but we're 3 months behind on the mortgage. I've been trying to catch up. But with your tutoring income..." Wait, you said that was volunteer work. Sarah's lie had just created another problem. She said, "It is volunteer. I meant..." James said, "Sarah, what's going on? You're working all the time. You've lost so much weight. You look exhausted. And now we're about to lose the house. Please, just talk to me." Sarah almost told him everything. Almost. But then she thought about the numbers. They were $5,400 behind on the mortgage. If she told James about the cancer, about the treatment she needed, about the $180,000 they didn't have, they'd lose everything immediately. At least if she kept quiet, kept working, kept saving, maybe she could fix it before it all fell apart. So she lied again. "I'm fine. I'm just stressed. I'll pick up more tutoring hours. We'll catch up on the mortgage. I promise." But she couldn't pick up more hours. She was already working 70 hours a week while actively dying from untreated cancer. In August 2024, Sarah collapsed at school. In the middle of teaching a lesson on fractions, her vision went black and she hit the floor. The school nurse checked her vitals. Blood pressure dangerously low. Heart rate elevated. The nurse said, "Sarah, when did you last eat?" Sarah said, "This morning." It was a lie. She hadn't eaten in 2 days. The nurse sent her home, told her to rest. Sarah went home, waited an hour, then drove to her tutoring job. September, October, November, December. Sarah kept working, kept hiding. The secret savings account had grown to $14,800. Still nowhere near enough. The cancer was spreading. She could feel it in her bones now. Her ribs ached constantly. She'd wake up in the middle of the night gasping for air. Her left arm was swelling, signs the cancer had spread to her lymph nodes. She knew what was happening. She was a smart woman. She'd researched enough. She was dying, and she was doing it in silence. In January 2025, Sarah's co-worker Emma, different Emma than her daughter, came up to her in the teacher's lounge. "Sarah, I need to tell you something, and I need you to not get mad." Sarah looked up. Emma said, "I applied our family to be on Family Feud, and we got selected. Taping is February 9th in Atlanta." Sarah stared at her. "What?" Emma said, "I know it's weird, but I thought if we win, it's $20,000. You could really use that money. I can see you're struggling. Please come with us, just this once." Sarah wanted to say no, but $20,000, that was enough to start treatment. That was enough to stop starving. She said yes. Emma had included Sarah's family in the application as a combined extended family team. The show approved it. Sarah didn't tell James about the money part. She told him it was just a fun trip. A break from everything. James was thrilled. "This is perfect. The kids will love it." Now here she was, February 9th, 2025, paramedics checking her vitals, Steve Harvey whispering to producers to stop the cameras, her husband holding her hand, her 3 kids crying in the front row. The paramedic said, "Ma'am, your blood pressure is 89/58. Your heart rate is 112. You're severely dehydrated and malnourished. We need to get you to a hospital." Sarah shook her head. "No, please. I can't afford..." She started crying. "I can't afford the hospital. I can't afford any of this." Steve Harvey was still kneeling beside her. He said very gently, "Sarah, what's going on? And I need you to tell me the truth." Sarah looked at James, then at her kids, then at Steve. And for the first time in 14 months, she told the truth. "I have stage 3 breast cancer. My insurance denied treatment. I've been working 3 jobs trying to save money for it. I've been skipping meals so we don't run out of food for the kids. I haven't told my husband because I didn't want us to lose our house. And I came here because I thought if I could just win $20,000, I could finally start treatment and tell everyone and fix everything. But I can't even make it through 1 game without collapsing." The studio went dead silent. James was staring at Sarah, his face white. "What?" Sarah was sobbing now. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know how to tell you. I didn't know how to fix it. I've been trying to fix it by myself." James dropped to his knees beside her. "You have cancer? For how long?" Sarah said, 14 months. James looked like he'd been punched. 14 months. You've been carrying this for 14 months alone? Steve Harvey stood up. He looked at the audience, then at the producers, then at the camera that was still rolling despite his instruction. He said, I told you to cut the cameras. The director's voice came through his earpiece. Steve, this is... Steve pulled out his earpiece. He threw it on the floor. He looked directly into the camera and said, nobody should carry this alone. You hear me? Nobody. He turned to Sarah. Here's what's happening. You're going to the hospital right now. We're getting you the best oncologist in Atlanta. And you're starting treatment tomorrow if possible. Sarah said, I can't pay for it. Steve held up his hand. I'm paying for it. All of it. Every penny. Treatment, surgery, whatever you need. You're not making this decision based on money anymore. You're making it based on staying alive for those 3 kids watching you right now. But Steve wasn't done. He pulled out his phone. He dialed the number, put it on speakerphone. A man answered. Hello? Steve said, is this the superintendent of Columbus City Schools? The man said, yes, this is Steve Harvey. I'm standing on my show stage with one of your teachers, Sarah Mitchell, 4th grade. You know her? Dr. Patterson said, yes, I know Sarah. She's one of our best teachers. Is everything okay? Steve's voice got hard. No, everything is not okay. Sarah has stage 3 breast cancer. Your insurance company denied her treatment because of some garbage pre-existing condition clause. And rather than tell anyone she's been working 3 jobs and starving herself for 14 months trying to save money for treatment she should have gotten for free through the insurance you provide. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to call that insurance company, and you're going to tell them they're approving Sarah's treatment retroactive to 14 months ago, and they're covering everything. And if they refuse, you're going to find a new insurance company for your entire district, because if this is how they treat your teachers, they don't deserve your business. There was silence on the phone. Then Dr. Patterson said, Steve, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. Steve said, well, now you do. Fix it. He hung up. But Steve wasn't finished. He looked at James. Your wife has been dying for 14 months trying to protect you and your kids. She's been working 70 hours a week. She's been eating 1 meal a day so your kids could eat 3. She's been teaching 4th graders while her body was shutting down. And she didn't tell you because she loves you too much to watch you panic. You understand what that means? James was crying. Yes. Steve said, good. Because starting today, you're taking care of her the way she's been taking care of you. No arguments, no pride, just love. Steve turned to the audience, and we're starting the Hidden Weight Foundation for people carrying invisible burdens, people with medical debt they can't pay, people choosing between treatment and feeding their families, people suffering in silence because they're trying to protect everyone else. We're going to find them, and we're going to help them. Because nobody should be dying alone while everyone around them thinks they're fine. The episode never aired as a game show episode. ABC aired it as a 1-hour special called The Hidden Weight on February 14th, Valentine's Day. The clip went viral immediately. 380 million views in 6 days. Number Hidden Weight was trending worldwide for 2 weeks. Donations flooded in. The foundation raised $89 million in the first month. Sarah Mitchell started treatment at Emory University Hospital on February 11th, 2025. Aggressive chemotherapy. Steve Harvey paid for everything. Treatment, medications, a year's worth of mortgage payments so James could take time off work to care for her. The insurance company, facing public outrage and the threat of losing the entire Columbus City Schools contract, reversed their denial and agreed to cover all future treatment. 8 months later, in October 2025, Sarah's scans came back clean. No evidence of disease, full remission. She cried for an hour in the doctor's office. James held her 3 kids piled onto her lap. The doctor said, if you'd waited another month, we wouldn't be having this conversation. You got here just in time. 1 year after the taping, the Hidden Weight Foundation had helped 2,847 people with medical debt. They'd paid off $34 million in bills. They'd connected people with charity care programs, negotiated with hospitals, fought insurance companies. She traveled to schools, churches, community centers, telling her story. She always started the same way. I was dying, and I smiled every day. I was starving, and I told everyone I was fine, because that's what we do. We hide our pain to protect the people we love, but hiding almost killed me. 2 years after the taping, Sarah Mitchell was still cancer-free, still teaching fourth grade in Columbus, still married to James. Her kids, Emma, 14, Lucas, 11, and Sophie, 8, were thriving. Sarah had gained back the 31 pounds she'd lost. She ate 3 meals a day. She worked one job. She saw her oncologist every 3 months for checkups. She kept one thing from those 14 months, a brown paper bag. The last lunch she'd packed for herself before she stopped eating lunch entirely. She never put food in it. She just kept it in her desk drawer at school, a reminder of what almost was. Today, Sarah Mitchell is 41 years old, cancer-free for 3 years. She volunteers at the Hidden Weight Foundation every Saturday. She helps people fill out insurance appeals. She holds their hands when they're too scared to tell their families the truth. She tells them, "I know you think you're protecting them by staying silent, but you're not. You're just making them lose you sooner. Tell the truth. Let people help. Nobody should carry this alone." Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stop pretending you're fine. And sometimes collapsing on national television is the moment that saves your life. And sometimes a game show host whispers to producers to stop the cameras because he knows some stories are bigger than the show. If Sarah's story resonated with you, share it with someone who's suffering in silence. Comment below if you've ever hidden pain to protect others. And if you or someone you know is drowning in medical debt and hiding it, visit the Hidden Weight Foundation at hiddenweight.org, because the weight you're carrying in secret is heavier than the truth could ever be.